All right, Dave, welcome to Firm and Final. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Mehb. Great to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So it's kind of like middle of May right now. You and I are getting prepped for a Society of Actuaries presentation that we have in a couple of weeks. I owe you my presentation materials here soon. But Dave, you're the first actuarial guest of season 2. How about that?
All right. Hopefully I do my fellow actuaries proud.
Yeah, we had a lot of actuaries in season 1, and that's because I know a lot of actuaries and I've seen a lot of them be super successful in the self-funding and stop loss and reinsurance space. And so I'm glad to have you on as a guest as well. I'm really interested to get started. Dave, you've gone off on your own and you've started your own business. Can you tell everybody about what you're doing today?
Sure. Yeah. Just recently launched. I think it's been a couple months now, so still kind of finding my way. Before I launched this company, I was with Canada Life Reinsurance as a marketing actuary, and I was focused in the health structured capital motivated reinsurance space. Did that for like 7 years. Really kind of learned that market probably better than anyone else in the industry. So I always kind of had it in the back of my mind of maybe one day I would, start something on my own, try to build something, and just thought, hey, there is a valid business case here for me to try to, broker with a specialty in that health structured space. It's a growing market. We're seeing more health companies use reinsurance for capital benefits. And it's used really across the spectrum of the health insurance space, from early stage companies supporting their growth, all the way up to the biggest health plans out there that are really just using this reinsurance for capital management efficiencies. So kind of took the leap and started the company, and I'm serving as a broker in that space.
That's awesome. It takes a lot of guts to start your own business. Can you tell me a little bit about like your mindset? Like what got you to finally take that leap?
Yeah, I probably didn't even know, the amount of guts that it really does take, because
Yeah.
it has been testing me more since I've launched, than pre-launch. But I'm an actuary, so normally I'm pretty risk averse. I definitely did a kind of risk reward evaluation before doing this, and again, just kind of thought that, hey, if I was ever going to take the chance, this was the one to do it. But I'll be completely honest, it has been a learning experience in these
Yeah.
two months. It has not been easy. I'm still at revenue of $0, so
Yep.
still working through it. But I've had some challenges, but have also found some support from others in the industry. So it's kind of the good and the bad of it.
Yeah. What happens that first time when you outreach to somebody or you make a phone call to somebody and these are people you have done business with in the past and all of a sudden they go cold?
Yes, you get a lot of that. You have to have tough skin, as they say. You got to take the rejection just as much as the successes. And there's definitely a lot more rejection than there is successes. So, that can be trying. But at the end of the day, I try not to take it personally. I recognize everybody else out there has their own priorities, whether it's
Mhm.
personal lives, their business lives. So a lot of the times with this stuff, it's a matter of just having the right timing, kind of being in the right place at the right time. You just have to work on trying to provide the best service you can,
Sure.
and hopefully connect with the right people at the right time.
Yeah, what I've noticed is people in our space right now, personally, professionally, are running at like 1,000 miles an hour, and so you can't get discouraged if you're not the exit on the highway while you're driving 1,000 miles an hour right now. And that it's just important to have those billboards out there, and eventually they will take that exit.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I mean, with this reinsurance, I mean, like I said, it can be used and it can be a benefit to any company really at any stage. But if the company doesn't have, a burning problem on their capital, it is sometimes harder to get them to look at this reinsurance, just
Sure,
an efficiency play.
sure. So, how did you get involved in the reinsurance industry?
Yeah, so my first actuarial internship was with Munich Re in Toronto. And so that kind of got me into the reinsurance world. And ever since then, I've always tried to kind of push my career back towards reinsurance whenever I had the opportunity. Like you said, I'm a little different than other guests you've had on this podcast, since I'm more on the structured capital motivated side of things. But that's also given me some exposure to the stop loss market where you guys are more focused. And
Yeah.
that's because stop loss has the highest RBC charge, so it's kind of a natural fit to the reinsurance I work with.
Let's delve into that topic a little bit because we are seeing a lot of stop loss carriers interested in capital motivated insurance, capital motivated reinsurance. You mentioned RBC, and the whole kind of premise of this product is RBC relief. Dumb it down for me. What is RBC, and why do insurers need to think about that?
Okay, so RBC is risk-based capital. It is the statutory required capital for insurance companies. Basically, the more business you write, the more capital you have to hold to support that business from a statutory solvency perspective. So that's what regulators are focused on for the solvency of the company. And reinsurance is basically a tool that you can use to help finance that capital position. And so that can be used to support growth. If you're growing, your required capital is going to go up, probably at a faster pace than even adding revenue and earnings to your business. So reinsurance can kind of bridge that gap while you scale the business. And then also for other insurance companies, a large piece of any insurance company's capital position is the capital they're holding to support the RBC requirement. So this reinsurance can be used to kind of free up some of that dormant capital that an insurance company can really use for any other capital projects they have.
Sure. So we see in the stop loss space, a lot of carriers are employing this tool. But there's a ton of carriers that are in the stop loss market. Is there something you're seeing? Is there something that's happening in the space that's getting insurers to think about this? Is it because they need the capital to grow? Is it because they need to free up capital to diversify? Like, what's kind of sticking out to you about this market right now?
I think for stop loss, the stop loss market is more about just, becoming more aware of the use of this reinsurance. It really is kind of an endless opportunity, or, for stop loss in particular, just because it's such a low cost of capital. You're getting so much bang for your buck. So I wouldn't say there's one kind of overarching industry motivation, in the stop loss space. It's more about just really kind of digging into the reinsurance and understanding it, and then seeing, hey, yeah, this makes sense from an economics perspective for
Sure,
pretty much any stop loss carrier.
sure. Now, when I typically have guests on, I love to hear how the hell they got into this industry. But my guess is your background is similar to mine. You studied this stuff in college and then you ended up working as an actuary. So, can you tell us how your college career, how that kind of parlayed your way into your professional career?
Yep, I am an actuary, so that does kind of start you down the insurance career path pretty
Yeah,
quickly, straight in college. I studied in Canada at the University of Waterloo, and they have a co-op program there. So I also had six different internships. So I got a chance to work, as I said, with Munich Re, with reinsurance. I also worked for Mercer doing pension consulting, and then also worked with Cigna on the direct insurance side. So kind of had a chance to try all three of those before even graduating university. and and then I also started with Cigna full time straight out of college. So that's what brought me down to the U.S. And I've been in the U.S. for pretty much my whole career.
Okay, I didn't realize you worked in Mercer in pensions. I did too. And good thing we both made that pivot because pensions have really started to disappear. It started happening roughly 15 years ago, but I remember being at Mercer and the pension group was making triple the revenue that the healthcare group was making.
Yeah,
And today, not only is it completely inverted, the healthcare group probably makes, 6, 7 times the revenue that the pension group is making. But it just kind of shows you how fast markets can change.
yeah, definitely. I kind of took note of that even at my internship. That was I guess about 25 years ago, but it was still at the point where there weren't really any new pensions coming on
Yeah,
campus, and you could still have I could still have had a full career serving that market, but like you said, it's not a growing market, and the health space is just huge, and the growth there is just built in with the constant medical inflation.
that's right. But I'm going to challenge you on that one because I think pensions are going to make a comeback.
Oh, all right.
And I think when you look at the talent, there's like a scarcity of talent, right? So employers want to be able to attract talent, and their tools to do that is compensation and benefits, right?
Yep.
Well, I think there needs to be some like long term type of carrots to get people to commit and stay for the long haul and get rewarded for that. And so, what is that? It's a pension.
Right.
You have those tools for like the C-level people having like long-term incentive comps and things like that get that level to stick around for a long time. But today it's about getting the new talent that's coming out of the college space and getting them to stick around for a long time. I think that tool is a pension.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, even just comparing my career path versus like my dad, where my dad worked at one company for, 30 plus years and he had a pension, versus me, I've moved around to so many different jobs, and
Yeah.
like you said, there was no kind of carrot keeping me at one company to really motivate me to stay at that one company.
So you said you've been in this industry for roughly 25 years. What's something that you really enjoy about the reinsurance space?
Reinsurance, I'd say I like the fact that you're working with big numbers, so even kind of a small percentage can have a big impact. So, and it's kind of smaller number of people working in the reinsurance space. So when it feels like you're having a larger contribution maybe as
Sure.
a reinsurance role versus a direct carrier. It's an interesting place to work. What do you think about the reinsurance space?
I think it's a really like smart group of people that I enjoy having conversations with, spending time with. It is a very niche space, specifically like health reinsurance.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely niche, right? So there's not a lot of people that are in it. And over time, you get to know basically everybody who's in it, and you come to learn that these are a good group of people.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, you see the same faces, and yeah, it is great to kind of have those client relationships. It's good to mix a little fun and entertainment and some travel
Absolutely.
with the business.
Absolutely. Well, good. But what about the part of the industry that maybe you don't like so much?
Yeah, I don't know if I'd point to one thing on the reinsurance space that I don't like. I've had a good career. I mean, insurance more broadly, I would probably say, I don't really like how complicated it is to navigate from the consumer perspective,
Yeah,
and whether that's health insurance, life insurance, PNC, you name it. I've tried to navigate all those pieces, from the consumer world, and I
sure.
and I always think if I'm finding this stuff complicated as an actuary that's spent my whole career in insurance, everybody else out there must really struggle with it.
Yeah, it sucks. I was just looking at a EOB last night with my wife and trying to make heads and tails of it, and we couldn't figure it out. And I work in this space, and it's extremely frustrating. Like, the system is really messed up. It needs some new solutions.
Yeah, yeah, definitely need to simplify things.
Yeah, absolutely. As you kind of venture off into this new world of being an entrepreneur, I'm curious if you seek counsel from like a mentor, or if in your career you've had mentors that have supported your growth.
Yeah, I kind of thought about that. I mean, I wouldn't really point to one mentor. I'd say it's more just about networking, and definitely maintained a strong network of connections in the industry that I've met at different stages of my career, and I still keep in touch with, and still reach out to, even just to catch up with, or to, get advice from.
Yeah. And now being an entrepreneur, you're going to really have to focus on marketing. And I've noticed your LinkedIn posts have started to increase. So tell me a little bit about that. Why are you using LinkedIn as a marketing tool?
It's a great tool to kind of reach a wider audience. Honestly, I need to probably even spend more time with it, and get more into the art and the science of posting on kind of a more regular basis. But it is just kind of, the next stage of networking in the world, where
Sure.
you can reach a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you're heavily invested now in the reinsurance space, but I'm curious from your perspective. This It seems to me like this space is changing very dramatically, especially with the risks inside health. From your perspective, what do you think is going to be something that's dramatically different in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I mean, always hard to predict. Normally, when you do try to predict things, you're usually wrong. But
Yep.
I mean, from the risk perspective, that's tough to say. Everybody's watching the cell and gene therapy stuff. I'd probably look more just at the total economy perspective, or day-to-day perspective of working in any industry, and that's really just technology changing all the time. I think AI is interesting. It's pretty amazing what you can do with that even today, and
Yeah.
just the speed at which it's already, changing things and evolving itself. So that's going to be the one that I kind of keep an eye on to see what happens there.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. It's like when you're so invested in your space and your expertise, how do you keep up with what's changing around it, like AI, like technology? Like, what are you doing to keep up with those things?
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm also on the executive committee for the Southeast Actuaries Conference, so we host two meetings every year. So we've been kind of trying to have topics like that at pretty much every meeting, to, just kind of keep bringing it up, and trying to stay up to date and relevant on those topics. It's also about trying to stay curious, and trying to, keep using these tools when you can.
Sure.
I've been playing with Chat GPT, but I'm still at a very amateur stage of using that.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Well, we're going to shift into some rapid fire questions if that's okay with you.
All right, fire away.
All right. So tell me three words that describe a career in reinsurance.
I'd probably say clients, growth, and conferences. I go to a lot of conferences.
All right. So, on that note, would you rather go to a Society of Actuaries conference or a SIA conference?
Yeah, I mean, not much competition there. I mean, as much as I like actuaries, Saya is really just more about networking, and really, to me, that's the strongest value that you get out of a conference is the networking aspect.
Yeah. All right. So, we talked about marketing on LinkedIn, but putting the professional Dave to the side, where are we most likely to find the personal Dave? Is it on TikTok, Snapchat, or Instagram?
Yeah, maybe I'm behind the times on those things, but I've kind of resisted the use of those social media. You know, I even try to avoid Facebook because it's sometimes has more negatives than positives. So I've never used TikTok, Snapchat, or Instagram. Don't know if that makes me old or
I don't think it does. And it's funny, but it's been a common thread this season. I've interviewed people that are around your and my age who are in the industry, and I would say a majority of them have said the same thing, that they don't use these things. And maybe it's because we came from the time when these social media first popped up. And I think it's kind of run its course for us, where we're like, all right, I'm not super interested in that anymore.
yeah, I think so. And maybe our generation is also kind of you know witnessed or paid a little more attention to some of the negative aspects of it, and
Sure.
given us a little more hesitancy than the next generation.
I think you're right about that. What is one of your passions outside of work?
Outside of work, really just family. So try to spend as much time with them as I can. We've got a big summer road trip planned, so we're
Oh,
looking
cool.
to that. Yeah, kind of mixing some business travel with some family travel. Like my family and I we're all going up together to that SOA health meeting,
Okay.
and then we'll spend some time in DC, and then going all the way up to Canada, and then working our way back down where I'll kind of visit with some clients.
DC is great with kids. I think we've been 3 times, and each time we've gone, the kids absolutely love it. There is so many things to do. It's such a walkable place where, so you don't, you get a hotel and you get the Uber ride to like the mall, and then from there you're just on your feet the whole time.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, I've been there, pre kids. But yeah, it's just a great place. The Smithsonian's are so great, and it's
Yeah.
great that they just make it free for everybody to go in.
That's right. That's good. Well, if you could have done it all over again, what's a different career path you would have taken as opposed to going down the actuarial and reinsurance path?
Yeah, I mean, I think the actuarial path is pretty good. I still recommend that path to those that are so inclined. I mean, I don't know if I could do it all again, maybe it would have been better to be a YouTube influencer or something. Just seem to do all right.
There's still time. You could be a YouTube actuarial or reinsurance influencer. Now, I'm just not sure how many people will come out to view those videos and hit the like and subscribe button, but hey, there's still time.
There's still time, but I'll probably stick to the actuarial profession for now.
There you go. All right. What about as like new entrants come into our industry? What's your take on them being able to work from home? And I got to say, this has probably been the hottest topic in the podcast series, not only this year but last year. What's your opinion on work from home?
Yeah, I mean it's tough, and I think it's a different topic whether you're talking about it from a broad sense or if you're talking about it specifically for like a new entrant coming into just starting out. I work from home. I work remotely, so I've been doing that for the past 7 years. And at this stage in my career, I definitely value the flexibility given there. But I know also when I was starting out, there's definitely value of being in the office and getting that experience. So that's why it's such a challenging topic, is because you're never gonna please everybody with
That's
that,
right.
and a lot of the value for the new entrants of working in an office is working with the senior people who maybe don't want to be in the office.
Yeah. It's a lost art, that young person being there, that seasoned person being there, and that seasoned person needing some help on a Thursday at 5 o'clock, and then walking around and finding a young person and giving them a tap on the shoulder saying, "Hey, can you stick around for 2 hours? I could really use your help."
Right.
That to me seems to be like a lost art. And I got to say, that's the on the job training that I got to participate a lot in,
Yep.
that I feel like today's 22-year-olds are missing out on.
Yeah, definitely. And I started with Cigna, where it wasn't just like exposure to senior level actuaries. It was also, being part of an actuarial community at Cigna, the support that gave, studying for exams, and also, like I said, networking. I keep in touch with actuaries that I worked with at Cigna. I've kept in touch with them my whole career.
Yeah. No, hard to disagree with that. What about somebody new coming into this career? Would you advise them, and you've made the move here from reinsurer to broker, would you advise them to go down like the traditional carrier slash TPA slash reinsurance carrier path, the advisory, so brokers and consultants, are kind of like the vendor space, especially like there's new emerging vendors like Point Solutions and RBP and captives, things like that. Where would you advise a new person to get started in our space?
I think there's probably good options in any of those areas. So maybe it depends on personal preferences. Also, probably depends on what opportunities you're being presented with. But I'd probably say, maybe even more important than choosing between those different options is really just trying to find the right company that you want to work for. So, the right company culture, the right people, whether that's finding the right office atmosphere that we were just talking about, because I think that's probably going to have a bigger impact on your experience than anything.
Right.
Your career is long, and you can definitely try different things at different stages.
Definitely a marathon. It is not a sprint.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dave, I'm going to let you turn it around on me right now and let you ask me any question that you'd like to ask.
All right. Yeah. This podcast has been great. I guess I'm kind of curious. What inspired you to start this podcast, and what have you really gotten from the experience?
Yeah. So I started the podcast roughly 2 years ago. And what I saw was there's some unbelievable people in this industry that have accomplished like really big things. And there's almost like a Mount Rushmore of stop loss and reinsurance people, but it's more than four on the Mount Rushmore, right? There's plenty of them, but not a lot of people know about who these people are or what they accomplished because there's not really a place, a repository where information about these people is, right? It's usually just like word of mouth. So you go to Saya, you meet somebody, and somebody says, "Did you know that that person right there did blah, 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 blah?" And it's kind of like these stories just emerge about people. So I first created the podcast because I wanted a place to interview these people and one to kind of maintain, a place, their story, what they did, what they accomplished. But if I'm really like honest, the selfish part of doing the podcast was to spend time with these people and to network with them because these weren't all people that I knew.
Hmm.
What I did is I started with a handful of people that I knew and I said, "Hey, who's somebody I should be talking to? Who's somebody I should be interviewing for this type of series?" And inevitably, it led me to people that I had either just very briefly crossed paths with or had not crossed paths with them at all.
Hmm.
And then the kind of like off to the side reason for doing the podcast is I just think it's a great way to market yourself. It's a great way to market your company. And so I do think that the podcast for us is creating a buzz that will lead to better professional things for our company, better professional things for myself. And so I think we're in this environment today where you have to constantly be marketing to get your name out there.
Hmm.
And so those are all the reasons why I've done the podcast. And then finally, I'll just say it's been a lot of fun. So it takes time, it takes production time, it takes recording time, it takes prep time, but I invest that time because I've been having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can definitely see that, and I think, like you said, just the networking benefits are definitely helpful.
Absolutely. All right, Dave, we'll get you out of here with one last question. What's one piece of advice you can give to somebody new that's getting started in our industry?
And I think, like you said earlier, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So try to have some high level goals to guide you through your career, but really give yourself time to figure things out, because you never know where things are ultimately going to lead you. So just take the time, enjoy the ride.
I like that advice, and we'll close it up there for today. Dave, thanks for joining us on Firm and Final.
All right, thanks, man.